I'm sure during your time studying English, you've asked and answered a lot of questions, such as, how old are you? Where do you live? Do you like learning English? So these are examples of what we call direct questions. They're simple and they're clear, but there is another way to ask a question as well. This is what we call an indirect question. And if you want to improve your English, this is a very good way to do it. Indirect questions can help you sound more polite. They can sound more formal if you want to sound more formal as well. Some questions use question words such as who, where, or when. Some questions use auxiliary verbs such as be, can, do, will. And if there's no auxiliary verb, we just use the auxiliary verb do. For example, do you like? However, there is another way to ask a question, and this is what we call an indirect question. These are useful because they can make you sound less direct, more polite, and more formal if you need to. Also, sometimes questions can be a bit personal, and it might seem a bit rude to ask a direct question, so that's why indirect questions are also very useful. It's a good way to sound sensitive if you're asking a personal question. So let's look at a few examples to see what I mean. Here's the first example. How old are you? Now, if you ask someone that question, it might sound a bit personal or a bit rude. So if you ask an indirect question, it can sound much more polite. Would you mind telling me how old you are? Here's another one. Where do you live? Do you know where you live? Do you like learning English? Can you tell me if you like learning English? So how does the second question sound different to the first question? Obviously the second question is longer. Normally when we say something that's longer in English, it sounds more polite. Also the grammatical structure changes, so we'll have a look at some examples to see how we make those changes from direct questions to indirect questions. In the first example, we change the word order of the subject you and the auxiliary verb are. So are you becomes you are. Would you mind telling me how old you are? The question now is, would you mind telling me? This means, is it okay to tell me? The how old you are part is no longer a question. So this uses normal statement word order. The second example uses the auxiliary verb do because there is no other auxiliary verbs such as be or have or can or will. However, as an indirect question, we drop do. So, do you know where you live? Not, do you know where do you live? Do you know is now the question. Where you live is a statement. In the final example, the question is a yes-no question, what we call a closed question. So we use if or whether. Can you tell me if? Or can you tell me whether? Not, can you tell me do you like learning English? So, can you tell me if you like learning English? So we drop do and we change for if or whether. Okay, so let's practice that together. I'm going to give you some example questions, direct questions, and I want you to change them into indirect questions. Get some paper if you need. It's a good idea to write these down because they are quite complex structures. and that will help you to learn them much better. Pause the video if you need more time after each example. What do you do for a living? Would you mind telling me what you do for a living? Why did your teacher get angry? Do you know why your teacher got angry? Can your students understand? Do you know if your students can understand? Are you divorced? Would you mind telling me if you are divorced? Have you ever been married? Can you tell me if you have ever been married? Do you like her? Can you tell me if you like her? Okay, there's a lot to learn there, a lot to think about. So it would be a good idea to watch the video again. So go back if you need to practice this again. Remember to like the video, share with your friends and subscribe to my channel. And go to anglopod.com so you can take a course with me to help improve every aspect of your English. Good luck, keep practicing, and I'll see you soon.